This webinar here is Optimal's monthly NetDocs webinar, and we're going to go over admin training today. Now, one thing I just want to bring up, because when we do any webinar, I get a lot of emails asking me to sign up other people for the webinar, and we're not going to do that. Like in the email that you get when you sign up, there's a link that you can forward to someone to sign up, or you can have them go to our website to sign up for the webinar. But I can't, sign 30 people up. I'm backlogged on everything already. So that's just not going to happen. But if you want someone to go to this webinar, whether they're an Optimal client or not, or a friend of yours or whoever, just have them go to the website and sign up for the webinar, or you can forward them the email and they can sign up. Before we start admin training, we're going to go over a couple of things here. So NetDocs updates, Optimal updates, NetDocs tips, and then we will jump right into the webinar here. So, and this one's a little interesting because I'm using my actual computer for the admin training. And usually I use a training computer, but we had issues with it this morning. So let's do this. We'll go with the NetDocuments updates first. What's new? You saw how easy that was to find. We're going to Google what's new here. And then let's come over here. All right, this is the correct way of doing this. What's new? All right. So new releases, 2026 web refreshes. Let's see if there's anything from our last webinar here. And honestly, you probably have been seeing a lot of new NetDoc stuff just appear. So July 31st. So just platform and infrastructure improvements, export retention policies. So that's new, although none of you use retention policies. So that probably isn't that big for anyone here. And we'll actually go over that in training today. And then there's some issues that have just been coming out. So nothing big there on the NetDoc side. And we did a webinar last week. So I only cover in between the last webinars that we've done. Let's come over to Optimal and see here on NetDocs tips. This is always coming up here. NetDocs error when logging in. So we had this today, or yesterday, we created this blog post. Error message, some new user couldn't log in. Never make never make a human being a non-interactive account in NetDocs. Non-interactive accounts don't count against your licenses and are used for specific integrations. But if an account is a non-interactive application service account, they can't log into NetDocs. So never check that off unless you're setting up an integration with another program. That came up a couple times last week. I did something here about turning on the NetDocs Centerbase integration. So just going over how we usually set this up. So if you're using the practice management Centerbase, this goes over how to turn on the integration. You got to customize this to your environment, and we talk about it there. Issues with favorite workspaces not showing up on your homepage in NetDocs. So we explain how to fix that. And those are the big three blog posts. And these are the new ones. I will also let you know that we are going through and we update all the blog posts. I probably updated 8 blog posts last week, but I don't move those back up to the top. I just clean up stuff as I see that's a little stale. Event-wise, today we are doing NetDocs admin training. End of the month, we do have an office hours. And then we're going to be doing a Windows training. This will be the full 2-hour Windows training that you got when you joined your firm. And then we've got an office hours training. And then we've got a Mac training. And then we have an office hours. What this means for me is that I've got some weeks to fill with webinars because we almost do a webinar a week. Okay. So I'm going to do one on AI again, because there's been so many changes on AI with NetDocs, the AI assistant, everything. So we're going to fit in an AI webinar there. I'm also going to do another webinar with a product called Bundle Docs. That is a really good bundling. It's kind of like Set Builder, but more advanced. So we'll probably do a webinar on that. If you want to email me an idea for a webinar, I would love you to do that. If you're having trouble with something, why doesn't he do a webinar on this? Please help me, okay? Because we've been doing these webinars for years, and I love to solicit input from people that actually use NetDocuments. All right, let me just come over to the chat and I'll say hi here. Just so, nope, let me switch it over. All right, so in the chat now, you should be able to chat there. There is also the Q&A. The webinar we are doing today is NetDocs admin training. So we are going to go into the NetDocs admin console. This webinar is going to be kind of more in depth than probably the admin training that you got when you first started using NetDocs. And the reason being is when you start using NetDocs for your first week, my goal is to get you up and running with as minimum disruption as possible. But I don't need to go over every single thing the admin console can do. I need to go over stuff that you're going to be dealing with that week or in the next couple of weeks. So you might be new to NetDocs, and that's going to be great for you. Or you might have been using NetDocs for a couple months, years, decades now, and this is going to be a good refresher on stuff to clean up. So the way I am getting into the NetDocs admin console is I'm going to come over to where it says hi and then Craig, and I'm going to choose admin. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is come over, and I've already got a question. I need assistance logging into the admin console. Well, that explains how, right? So it's, if again, in NetDocs, hi, and then admin. Now, let's come over to users and groups. So I'm going to click here, and you might not be seeing this where it says NetDocs admin console. There's 3 lines referred to as the hamburger. I'm going to click on the hamburger, and here are our options in the admin console. Let's click on the thumbtack to open them up. And then we're going to come over to users and groups. The first thing I want to go over, because I want to show you who can see the admin console. So users and groups is listing a list of users in my NetDocs repository. Since we are heavy collab space users, all the users I am seeing right now, and some of you might know your names, you might see your names here because you're clients of ours. These are all people that we have shared a collab space with. Collab space is the NetDocs client portal. So what I like to do here is switch it over to internal users. So this is everyone at my company that can get into NetDocuments. Okay. So this is a list of people that can get into NetDocuments at my company. And what I am going to do is hit create report, top right-hand corner, and then I'm going to hit OK. Now, this is going to look differently than most people in the regards that we have way too many repository admins. Okay, so everyone that has an A by their name is a repository admin. And the reason being is that I own a company that sets up NetDocs for other law firms. So a lot of our users are certified NetDocs consultants that need to be able to go into our admin console to test things out, to compare it to issues that you are having. What the rule of thumb is that you should not have every single person at your firm be a repository admin. And as we go through the training today, that will become a little more apparent. We only want people that need to get in here. And who needs to get in here? You will know the answer by the end of the training, okay? Because we will go through that, all the steps the admin console can do, and then you can make that decision. So if we see an A here, that means they can get into the admin console. If you don't see an A here, it means you cannot get in. So we will go over how to make someone a repository administrator. I will also let you know policy at our company, and I just did it this morning. Someone emails me and says, "Hey, I need to be an admin in NetDocs." I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do it. I will only do it when another repository admin is CC'd on that email. Because if I can just make anyone an admin that emails me, then what's the point of even then just make everyone an admin, right? So we have to have some sort of security here. The other thing I'm going to point out is that if you're a repository admin, you should know how to make someone a repository admin. So instead of having me bill you to do it, you should just know, and you're on this webinar, how to make someone. So I'm going to come over here to El Zane, who is an existing user in NetDocs. I'm going to click on her name. I'm going to come over to the word edit, and I am going to switch this from non-admin to full admin. When I hit save, and Elzane logs into the next docs for the next time, she will be a repository admin. So we've answered the question. I need to know how to get into the admin console. You have to be a repository admin to get into the admin console, and you just need this checked. So you need to go from non to full, and then you are a repository admin. So you can do it yourself. You can ask me to do it, but I'm going to need multiple people on that email because we're not just turning it on for anyone. That's a huge security risk. Now, over here, we have add user, and let's just go through this. So we'll actually add a fake user. So I'll do steve.smith@optimal.com. So we're typing in an email address. Now, before I do this step, I'm assuming someone's created the email account. Someone has created the Office 365 account. That's the first order. Then we come in here. We're going to come over here. We're going to give them a first name. And we're going to come over here and give them a last name. User type, you want to check this. Internal means they work at our law firm. External, you don't really usually even create them here. This is created in the collab space functionality. So it's usually internal, but you want to check because sometimes this will be set to external. Repository admin type, it's either non or full. Ignore membership only, okay? And I don't have time to get into it, but it's pointless. And then I'm going to hit save, okay? That will create the user, all right? Send welcome email, I would uncheck. And the reason being, at our company, we are using single sign-on to log into NetDocs. So a NetDocs user at our company is logging in via their Office 365 account. They do not have a NetDocs username and password. They're not filling out that screen when they log in. So I'm going to uncheck that and I'm going to hit save. Now, and I've dealt with a whole bunch of these tickets today, yesterday, and Monday. This was half of adding a user. This user is going to have massive problems. The first problem is they're not going to be able to see anything. They will be able to log into NetDocs. And what I'm about to say is really geared to law firms that I set up your NetDocs for, but I will also let you know that most of the consultants are doing it this way. And I wasn't maybe doing this way at the beginning, but in the last couple of years, this is how we set up our NetDocs. So if we come over to cabinets, I have 8 cabinets in my NetDocs repository. For each cabinet, I created a group of people that can actually use that cabinet. So I have cabinet client, O1 client, which is the name of the cabinet, full access. That is a group. So for me to add someone to the client cabinet, and we'll come back. Let's find Steve here. I'm going to click on edit. I'm going to click on groups, add group, and I'm going to choose client, O1 client, full access. Now, Steve can access the client cabinet. All right. And then I could come over here, groups, add group, and maybe I need Steve to access the library and the user cabinet. And then I'm going to hit add groups. So do you see why I made it this simple? Because, I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed. So I'm like, oh, Steve needs to see the library cabinet. Let me add him to the group that we created called Cabinet Library Full Access. So part one, add user, put in their email address. Okay. And then once you do that, you need to choose which groups they see and what groups they should have access to. And that usually correlates with the cabinet that they can see. Now, the other thing, and I'm going to go a little bit out of order, is if you are using an author or typist profile attribute, I would also need to go into those tables in NetDocs. So I'm in profile attributes, and I'm going to come over to add author, SS, and I'm going to put in Steve Smith. If you don't do that, then they will not have an author profile attribute. Author profile attribute, not all law firms have it, but it's so when someone's creating or dictating a document and they go to save it into NetDocs, they can choose the attorney they're working for. So that attorney can go back and see stuff that other people created but is really theirs. Same thing with typist. So users and group, add a user, fill in their relevant information, choose if they are a repository administrator or not, add what groups they should be a membership of, and if you have a profile attribute, author or typist, assign it to them. Let's talk about deleting a user. So we have an add user button right here. We also, and I'll check the box here, have a delete option right here. Over here on the right-hand side, I just highlighted it. That is the delete. You will lose no data by deleting a user. Again, you will lose no data by deleting a user. What you will do is free up your NetDocs account. All right. So when you delete a user, I'm using 17 licenses right now. When I come over here and delete Steve Smith, I am now, and we'll just hit refresh here, using 16 licenses. So I have another license to apply. It tells me I'm using 16 out of 100 licenses now. So I have freed up a license. So delete a user when they are leaving the firm. There's a couple other things I'm going to point out here. The first one, and let's go over here and I'm going to choose Angie. All right, Angie, who's awesome, is leaving. I hope not. But before she leaves, I'm going to open up this field here and I'm going to take a screenshot. All right. Why am I taking a screenshot? So let's say Angie has moved on to a different job and I'm replacing her with someone else. And she might even be training that person. Let's say that. So she's training that person. I need to create a new user. I need to see what cabinets Angie was a member of. All right. These are the cabinets here. If I delete the user before taking a screenshot of this, then I have no way of knowing what that is. So what most likely happens for you is you don't have any free licenses, right? Because NetDocs licenses they cost money. So you probably have the amount of licenses you are using. And you need to delete a user to add one, but that's a replacement user usually. And then once you delete that user, you're like, what cabinet should I add that user to? The easiest thing to do is to take a screenshot, delete this user, and then for the new user, just look at the screenshot and re-add them back to the same cabinets. That's something that we have learned over time. So groups here, these are where you create security groups. We create a group for each cabinet. And this is not a security webinar, but this is where we also create groups for, let's say, ethical walls as well. And we can see who are members of those ethical walls. Also, we might have a cabinet and maybe there's some folders some people can see and some folders other people. We will do that by groups as well. That is users and groups. I got to move on because the admin training I take too long because there's so much good stuff here. Profile attributes. These are all your profile attributes in NetDocs. And I'm really going to concentrate on the client and matter table. Now, this is a good example. Some of you, especially larger firms, or actually the firm I rolled out this week is 5 people and they have 2 client cabinets. All right. So they have 2 client and matter profile attributes here. So which one goes to which cabinet here? So I have this one right here and I have this one right here. If you have the ability, let's open up the client's demo cabinet here. It will show you here which profile attributes are being used. So I know 6 and 7 are being used in the client demo cabinet. If I come over and I'm going to open up 6, this is where I can add a new client to NetDocs. Now, a lot of you, not all, but the vast majority are using a legal practice management or accounting program. And since you're using one of those, we usually set up an integration. So when a client or matter is added to one program, it gets added to NetDocs shortly after. That's the beauty of having an integration, no duplication of stuff. So if you're using Centerbase, like we talked about in that post here, I was talking about turning on the Centerbase link. The reason I'm turning it on is so when a client and matter are created in Centerbase, they automatically get created in NetDocs. If you don't have that integration turned on, or there will be instances where you just need to create a client and matter in NetDocs that is not related to an actual client and matter. Some people create submatters for working purposes. For billing purposes, you only have one matter. There is the ability to add a client. When you go in and add a client, you will type in a client ID. That's the best way. Some people don't use them, but I highly recommend we have a client ID, and then I'm going to type in the client name and hit add. Now, most people forget about this because they don't do it a lot. So what I recommend is just look at how a previous client was set up. Now, we also have a type field and access field, litigation hold, and close date. Let's go through some of these. Type, I don't really use in client, so we'll talk about it when we jump into matter. Access, if I need to add an ethical wall to this client and all matters under this client, this is where I put in the security string. Again, I can't go into that right now, what the security string is, but if you go to our YouTube channel, we've done security webinars before. We explain how to do it. But this is where you put the profile-based access security string in. So I can say, hey, for these group of people, don't let them see this client and any other matters underneath it. Litigation hold, I don't know if I ever have had anyone use it. It seems more like something a business would use, but if you're being sued and you can't touch anything in a certain matter, when you check this off, you basically lock the matter in place, like nothing's being added, edited, or changed. Close date is more interesting, and NetDocs has made some changes now to this, but the idea of closing this is once you close a client matter, author, or doc type, the value stays in NetDocs, but you're not supposed to be able to add anything to it. NetDocs has actually loosened that a little bit. So we can close a matter now, and we can still add stuff to it, but that matter has a close date. because there's the realization a matter might be closed and you just get an email you want to save to that matter. You're not doing any work in it, but it's just a follow up or something and you want to save it in there. So we actually have that capability now. Let's go back to profile attributes. I'm going to open up the matter table now. And if I come over to add matter, this is a parent-child relationship. So the first thing I have to do is choose a client. And then I'm going to come over here and choose a matter. I'm going to type in a matter description. All right. So I said we'd go over type, and this is the perfect place to do it. All right. So what is a matter type? In the way that we set up NetDocs, there's a variety of reasons we use a type field, but let me go through all of them. All right. So type field here, litigation, bankruptcy, PI, MedMal, corporate, real estate. I have an attorney I'm working with that is a water rights attorney. So we have a matter type called water. Why do we have a type here? Here are the reasons. When I'm doing a search in NetDocs, I have the ability to then go and say, hey, filter this so I'm only seeing litigation results and I'm not seeing the real estate company results in there. Other reason, I've set up separate doc type lists per area of practice. So bankruptcy has a completely different doc type list than real estate. Having a type in there allows you to do that. I'm using something called folder packs, or I have customized workspace templates for each matter practice that we have. That's where the type allows you to do that. So this is where we usually add the type to matter. Now, just going through the questions here, again, you have to be able to log into NetDocs to get into the admin console. There is no admin console login. It's a NetDocs user can log into NetDocs. And if you can log into NetDocs and you go over and someone's not an admin, you need to have a repository administrator make you an admin. And I can't really do tech support for individual people on this call right now. So if you have to create a ticket, email help@optiable.com and our company can assist you with that. And then we have our close date here where we can actually say this matter is closed. And the big change this year is that you could actually still add stuff to that. All right, a couple other things on this, and I have to be very careful here, but on these tables, there is download table. This will download this table in a CSV format, okay? Why would you download the table here? And I'm trying to open this up, so give this a second here. All right, there it is. So I've downloaded this table into CSV format. I need to manipulate some data in it. That can be a little weird because the table is actually linked back to everything you have in here. Maybe I need to create 30 rows and copy clients and matters in here. Maybe I need to fill out the matter types for all these. Or maybe I need to update the client descriptions or the matter names here. So when you download a table, there's also the ability to upload a table. You need to be very careful here. So if I'm doing any table manipulation, the first thing I'm doing is downloading the table and I'm saving an untouched copy somewhere so that I can go in, and if I screw everything up, I can re-upload a new table. Usually most people are running the one called update here. So they're making some changes and they're hitting update, and it's just adding those changes to NetDocs. Delete. So delete deletes clients and matters out of the table. When do I use this? Maybe I've had like 5 attorneys are leaving a firm, and hey, we don't need to see their clients and matters in our NetDocs. So export their documents out, which we will do. Delete their documents, we'll do that. And then we will go in and upload a list to delete all those clients and matters. Replace is actually replacing the data with anything that matches, okay? So Update is updating everything. Delete is deleting whatever you have in that table, and replace will replace data. Now, I've had this happen to one of my clients before. They were trying to add 5 new clients in Matters. They just had them in the Excel sheet. They hit upload. They accidentally hit replace. So when they opened up NetDocs, instead of having 10,000 Matters, they had 5. So you have to be very, very careful when you're using these fields here. All right. Coming over on profile attributes, we went over the client and matter. Doc type here. Here's a list of doc types. A great place to close stuff. So if you are not using a doc type, you find out, hey, no one uses engagement letters and proposals. You can close it so it is no longer an option when someone's saving. Okay. You can still, like I said, we have the ability to turn that on and off now, but that's usually the case there. Instead of deleting, which is an option here, we don't really want to delete the doc type. We want to close it. All right, profile attributes here. Any other questions before we move on? On profile attributes. You see, I got a lot of them here. I can't go into detail on dynamic profile. Profile attributes would be a great 1 hour webinar because I could spend an hour and I could slow down a little bit and go into more detail on dynamic profile attributes, creating new profile attributes, assigning them to matters. That would be a good webinar. All right. I'm going to come down here to NDMail configuration. And the reason I'm going to come over here is I want to talk about something that I run into all the time. And I can't believe that people just don't realize this. Some people do. NDMail is a way of saving email to NetDocs. Over the years, the integrations have changed and have needed to be updated. Right now, we're using what is called MS Graph. All right. So if I click here and hit test connection, I'm looking for a success here. I don't want to see not connected because test connection is letting me know that my NetDocs is connected validly, which is good. The connection is valid to my Office 365 or Outlook account. If the connection is not valid, then when people are using NDMail, it's not saving it into NetDocs. So while NDMail still might be showing predictions, those emails are not actually going into NetDocs. Other thing I'll point out is that this email address is irrelevant, even if it's for someone who used to work at the firm. Like people will be like, I don't want that person. Switch it to this one. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. It's just we have to put in an email address to test. If we get test connection and it works, we're okay. If we get test connection and it doesn't work, that's where we need to change something. If we come over to cabinets here, you get to choose which cabinets have NDMail. We've kind of adjusted our strategy where we just kind of turn it on for all the cabinets now. So, and then in NDMail, you can, when you're saving email, you can choose which cabinet. We used to just do client, but now we're turning it on for everything. All right, NDSync and mobile management. All right, so a couple things here on NDSync and mobile management. Let's go to the first one. When a user's account is removed from this repository, meaning when you delete a user, the proper option is unlink all users' devices and wipe all content by removing the files and folders that are synced. When they say content here, they're talking about NetDocuments content. They are not talking about other stuff on the computer or phone. It's only NetDoc stuff. Now let's get a little more granular. Allow NDSync. NDSync is a product, and I have it on my computer right here, and it allows me to synchronize locations in NetDocs with locations on my computer. So for example, I have synced this firm's workspace onto my computer. So if I'm flying on an airplane that doesn't have Wi-Fi, I can open up anything here. I can make changes, and when I get back to internet, those changes will upload, and any changes from NetDocs will download. NDSync is not made to synchronize your entire NetDocs onto your computer. That doesn't work. It's for a specific use case. So, hey, Craig, this client wants me to give them their file back. What's an easy way that I can do this without having to pay you? I'm like, install NDSync, synchronize the matter locally on your computer, zip it, and send it to them. That's a great use case. So NDSync is by default turned off. You can turn it on, and then you have to, before you can use it, you either have to install it on your Mac or your PC because there is an actual program there, and then you can synchronize it down. Mobile app access. So NetDocs has smartphone apps for Android and iOS. Now, when you go to install those, you might see 3 or 4 NetDocs because there's some special ones for mobile device management. But again, I can't really get into detail about that, and it really isn't relevant to anyone on this call. So if your user is downloading the app, they see 4 apps, choose the one that says NetDocs, okay? And that allows them to use NetDocs on their smart device. Both NDSync and the mobile app do allow you to synchronize data locally onto that device. That's where this comes back in again. When someone is leaving our firm, we want to remove all data from NDSync and the mobile app. Easy as that, because they're no longer at our firm anymore. So remove all work product off of that firm. And again, it is not deleting anything. It's not deleting their Outlook. It's not deleting pictures. It's only deleting NetDocs and the data in there. You have the ability to shut off the mobile app. Okay. What you don't have the ability to do, and everyone has asked me for it, is, hey, just allow attorneys to use the mobile app. We do not have that ability. But what we do have is the ability to get an email when someone sets up the mobile app. So at that point, when someone sets up the mobile app and they should be using it, say they're like a legal assistant and you made a company policy that only attorneys can use it, you'll get an email saying they set it up. And then you can come over here and hit remove and wipe that data out. The other reason you have this mobile device management is if someone loses a computer or phone that had NDSync or the ND app and there's data there, as long as it's connected to the internet, you can wipe that data out as well. So that is where that's NDSync and mobile management. Let's come up to applications. This is new. Last couple of admin trainings, we have never gone over this. And this gets confusing, but we're getting to a point in the near future where we will use the new Outlook and not Outlook Classic. Outlook Classic uses something called COM add-ins. The new Outlook, Outlook Web Access, Outlook on your iPhone, Outlook on an Android device, we are using the NetDocs Outlook 365 app. That is something that is pushed out. So you might have both of them at your firm. You're probably just using NDMail and NDSave, but in the near future, we'll be pushing this out. And this is where we're going to control some firm settings. So this one here, process local added attachments using NetDocs PDF conversion. When enabled, local added email attachments converted to PDFs are transmitted but not stored on the NetDocs server. This is just because if you don't have Outlook on your computer, you're using Outlook Web Access, it's just not storing those PDFs on your server when it does the conversion. Because again, it's not a product installed on your computer. It's pushed out. Enable prompt to filing. So you can turn this on now firm-wide for the Office 365 app. So I know a lot of you on this call, we have NDMail turned on. There's a setting per user to turn on prompt to file. This will allow you to turn it on firm wide. Okay, so this is new. As we move away from NDMail and NDSave and Outlook, the 365 app will take control, and we have some options here. If we come over to documents here, this is where you get to set a naming pattern on document attachments. Okay. So you could say when I'm in Outlook and I add an attachment, I want to have the document name, I want to have the attachment, I want to have the doc ID, I want to have the version name, and it lets you set up a naming convention. The What's really cool is you can set this up firm wide. You can also let users override it if you want to. Allow users to override this to have their own setup. This is actually really good because I had a firm that was always using version name for one particular group, and the rest of the firm wasn't. And I was like, look, it's all or nothing. So now I would set it up to work mainly for the firm, but that version name people could go in and they could set it up themselves. So application is new. We're not using a lot of it here right now, but it's going to become more important as we go on. Analytics. I'm not going to spend any time in this. Analytics is an add-on product for NetDocs. You kind of just get it now. I mean, it's got data in there. I mean, the best thing about analytics is this. If I switch it over to software, okay, this is Optimal, my firm, and I can see here that I have 7 users using ND Office 4.3.1.21. I've got one that hasn't added the patch yet. Here's the problem. I can't tell which user that is. So I've got 8 people at the company, and you guys might have a lot more people. Got to go figure out now. I've got to send an email to everyone. Hey, who's still using 4.2.1? Now, the software we use to manage our computers will tell us that. So I guess I can go into there and see that. It tells me I've got 3 people using NDSync. It tells me what version. Tells me I've got NDMirror set up. It tells me NDMail. This is interesting. I've got 4 people using 1.16, 3 using 1.17, and 1 using 1.14. No one's using folder mapping. No one's using ND-Click. No one should be using ND-Click anymore. It's telling me that we have 8 users using Windows 10. What versions of Word, Excel? I mean, so you are getting this information here, which is great. My issue with this is that it doesn't tell me where what user actually is. And I think if they added that to analytics, I would like it a lot more. Let me move on. OCR, why don't you see analytics? Because you don't have it. It's a NetDocs add-on. We will get to it at the end, and I really wouldn't worry that much if you don't have it. OCR dashboard. So there's a couple of things here that are important. I'm clicking on this OCR dashboard. If I click on OCR right here, it is showing me what has been OCR'd. I've got one pending document. It's OCR'd 612 documents since the last time it's probably, well, most of our documents are OCR'd. We're not a law firm here. So NetDocs has a content crawler, all right, called NDOCR or OCR. You can turn it on and you can actually set it up per cabinet. So we're running it in the client cabinet, in the client's demo, in the prospects, in the user's cabinet. I don't have it turned on in these other cabinets. When you OCR a document, you make it text searchable. Here's some things I want to talk about this content crawler here. So if I go over to the settings, I'm saying when you see a PDF or TIFF file in a NetDocs document or email attachment, and it's not text searchable, make it text searchable. Okay. I would not make JPEGs text searchable because it's converting them to a PDF. And I'll just BPMs, PNGs, JPEGs, these are pictures that should be pictures, like pictures of cars, accidents, crime scenes, stuff like that. So to me, it would only be PDF and TIFF. And the one thing you have to know is that anytime NetDocs OCRs a document, it duplicates it. All right. So if it duplicates a document, it can affect storage. How much? I can't tell you because I don't know how many un-OCR'd PDFs you have. So we're very careful about turning this on. For example, when we turned it on, we're only doing new documents. So anything previous in our system is not getting OCR'd, only new documents. That's kind of how we want to set this up so that only new documents get OCR'd. And the only time we change that is if we look at a firm's storage and then we see how much storage they purchase from NetDocs. And if they have a ton of space, then maybe we'll turn on the backlog there. The one thing I will tell you about the OCR dashboard, and you should check it out, is sometimes it gets turned off. So if you click on OCR dashboard and it says configure OCR, then it is not running at all and it needs to be configured to run. Retention policies. All right. Why is the OCR dashboard blank? Well, it might not be running. It might not be configured at all. I mean, if we come on here to the OCR dashboard blank and you don't see anything, if we come over to OCR setup, does it say configure OCR? If it says configure OCR, then you need to turn it back on again because it might have gotten shut off. Retention policies. This goes into the thing we talked about closing matters and NetDocs allowing us now to save stuff into closed matters. NetDocs has the ability. Okay, coming back to OCR, let me come over here. The question, sorry. Save setting in OCR. Save as new version or overwrite current version. I would leave it as save as new version. If you're sitting here and you're like, Craig, if we just turn it to overwrite current version, then it won't duplicate our storage. You are wrong, but I would understand what you think. You're wrong. It will still, no matter what you do, it's duplicating the storage of PDFs when you turn on OCR. Overwrite current version, it still leaves the original version as an attachment to the document. So save as new version is preferable to me because then we see it's version 2. And if there's ever a problem with OCR where it corrupts data, it's more easy to fix if I know it's version 2. So those are the options there. Retention policies. So in this policy here, I'm saying for this client it matters 7 years after the matter closing date, purge the whole thing. Like just get rid of the whole thing. Now, I've turned this on for 2 law firms out of 509. We're at 590 installs. We've turned it on for 2. And law firms do not want to turn this on. They want to have everything. But again, I'll point out to you that there's also a storage cost here, and this helps you with your storage costs. So if I ever felt that you all were going to use retention policies, I would do a webinar on it. But I mean, 2 out of 590 is not enough for me to do it. It's more of to let you know it's there and to let you know there's a lot of options here. 1 year after matter close date. Now, I'm going to point out what a lawyer told me, and I thought this was really smart. They do not use the retention policy for their clients and matters, but they do have a user cabinet. And when a user leaves their firm, each user has their own little workspace. And so they close that user, and 1 year after the user is gone, it purges that user from there. Thought that was a really interesting case to use it, even if you're not ready to use it for clients and matters. Recents and favorites. Oh, I hate this. I hate because if I tell you this, then you're going to ask me to do it for you. There is a way to create favorites for a user. Now, this is particularly an attorney, and it's usually when we go live with NetDocs. So the way NetDocs works right now, you click on a matter, you hit the star button, it's a favorite, right? Well, there is actually a way to create an Excel file and upload it so it creates a favorite list for all the for your user here. So you have columns here. You create an Excel file and you say, okay, user here, and then this client, this matter is a favorite. User here, this client, this matter is a favorite. Then you upload that and assigns it for everyone. So that exists. We do it when we're asked to do it. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck because I'm like, can't you just go to Matter and hit favorite? But someone's like, look, this attorney's got 60 favorite matters they're working on right now. They want them all on the home page. Can you just set this up? I'm like, yeah, send me a list of the clients and matters in Excel and I'll take care of it for you. Activity logs. So the history of a document is with a document for the end of time. You have NetDocs, you go to a document you created in 2010, you can go to the history and you can see everything about that document. Activity logs are more user based. So if I want to see in July what everyone at my office did, I am going to look and I'm going to click request. I will create this as an XML file. I'll download it. And this is going to create an Excel report of every single thing everyone did. So it'd be Craig Bayer opened up this document. Angie opened up this document. Jeff downloaded this document. It'll go, Alfonso edited this document. It'll go through, it's listing the cabinet, the document, the user's IP address, anything that was changed, and it just gives you all the data. Because it is data intensive, if you go download one of these, even if you're a 3-user firm, it's going to be massive because it's every change to every document and you can filter it by user. You only have the last 90 days to create this report. When do I ever create this report? Because usually one of you are asking me to create it. 2 reasons. Reason 1, the most prevalent. You've got an alert, which we'll talk about shortly, about someone copying a lot of documents from NetDocs. So I'll get an email and be like, hey, Craig, what did Lisa do this week in NetDocs? I will create a report using the activity log saying, hey, this is everything Lisa touched there. And then what they're trying to determine is, was Lisa downloading a whole bunch of stuff and what IP address was it? Like Lisa downloaded 1,000 documents to her personal computer. You get that out of the activity logs. It wouldn't say Lisa's personal computer. It would give you an IP address that was not the firm's IP address. Okay. That's how you would find that out. The other reason, and maybe because I don't train on this, you could edit profile up to 100,000 documents in the web interface. And I had someone do that and they edited them to the wrong user profile. So someone did a search, selected a whole bunch of documents and actually profiled them all to one client in Matter. And I got a call saying, hey, Craig, we're screwed. Like everything got moved to this one Matter. How do nothing's deleted. It just got all moved. Activity log is tracking the change. So it's like, all right, give me a day. Downloaded the activity log, found the previous, profile attributes, ran it through something we call Toolkit, and I put everything back. So it's also tracking all changes so I can fix stuff there. All right, share spaces are dead, so we are not going over those. Data tables here. I'm not really going to go over these. This is more for Pattern Builder and Pattern Builder Max. That's a whole different story here. Julian and I will talk about that when we do the AI program, but this is a document generation AI discussion, and we only have 6 minutes left and we're nowhere near done. AI settings and usage table. All right, settings here, not super great usage. This is the ability to download who is using the AI assistant, what tokens are they using, and to get information that way. So it's a report of the NetDocs AI assistant to figure out the token usage there. I'll leave it at that. Apps here, again, this goes into Pattern Builder Max, so I'm not going to really talk about it here. This is the AI document generation, you creating AI apps and generating apps. So we got to kind of leave these alone. Let's go to Security Center. I'm going to talk about a couple of things real quick. Now, when you go to Security Center, a lot of this will be locked out. A lot of these are add-on products. WSM, Workspace Security Manager. This is how we create ethical walls. There's 2 ways in NetDocs to create ethical walls. profile based. When I converted you to NetDocs, that's what we did. And going forward, you can use WSM to create an ethical wall. WSM is better for a couple of reasons. One, it shows you all the ethical walls that you've created. And when you create the ethical wall, it immediately applies it to that matter in those documents. So if you go into profile-based security, you set up the security and then you got to go secure everything. 2 steps. WSM is 1 step and it shows you everything. DLP or data loss prevention. This lets you set up policies here. So I'm going to come over here and let's find out the policy that we created here. Because we have one here. No one here, let's just look at this. No one can email via email copy or deliver a secured link. Basically, if you turned on this policy for a document, you're saying that no one can email this document to someone outside of the firm. We have a DLP webinar that I think maybe I should just leave it at that. DLP webinar here that we do, and it's on the YouTube channel. Basically goes over here and explains how to use DLP, and we do that once a year. YouTube channel, or when you get this video sent to you, we'll have a list of prior recordings, but it's basically a way of setting rules on what can leave your system here. So if you don't have it enabled, that means you don't have it. Let's skip these two. Advanced authentication. So we are logging into our account via something called single sign-in or Office 365. So this is where I set that up via advanced authentication right here. And then ND Connect is brand new. Okay. This is the connection we turn this on to connect our NetDocs with Cloud. This is the MCP server. ND Connect to allow other AI products to see your NetDocs. It's brand new. We'll leave it at that because we got to move on with 3 minutes left. Information and settings here. All right, there's a couple of really important things. Allow large files bigger than 2 gigabytes. If you check this off, you can now store a file between 2 and 50 gigabytes into NetDocs. It is not checked by default. Activity threshold. I have mine set to 200. This means that if someone downloads more than 200 documents at a time to NetDocs, from NetDocs onto their computer, all the repository admins are going to give them an email letting us know that that happened. It is not preventing them from doing it. It is just telling you that it happened. And then over here, internal users, max internal members here. Okay. I have 100. All right. If I change this number, this would change how much I got charged by NetDocs. Now you can only go up. You can't go down. You have to contact billing@netdocs.com to drop this. But let's say you have 10 users, you add 5 more people. You would change this to 15. Now you would get charged more money by NetDocs. And then over here in information, this is listing every single NetDocs product that you have. So if you're confused about what you have with NetDocs, information is where you can go there. All right, jumping in here, I'm going to jump into the cabinet here. So I'm going to open up our client cabinet, and really there's only a couple of things I want to cover here. Is cabinet administrators, which are different than a repository administrator. You can be a cabinet administrator without being a repository administrator. A cabinet administrator can, and Wayne does not need to be one here, so he's gone. A cabinet administrator, couple things, does not play by the rules. Security does not work for they get around security. So if someone created an ethical wall and said only 3 people could see this, and that cabinet administrator was not one of those 3 people, they could still see it. Okay. Cabinet administrators, security doesn't really apply to them. Other thing, and this is the way we set it up, cabinet administrators can permanently delete documents. If you're not a cabinet administrator, you can delete a document, but it's not permanently deleted. And the other thing here, a cabinet administrator can roll back a document, meaning if someone opens up a document, they make a whole bunch of changes to it. someone opens up a Word document, say they accidentally cut the whole document out and save it. 3 days later, they go in and they're like, my document is blank and it was a 20-page document. How do I get it back? Roll back a document. If you plug in the document ID here, we'll show you snapshot images of the document. All right. I think that's basically what I want to cover. I guess I got it maybe in at 2 minutes. Let me show you one thing here that we've created for you, and I am going to throw in the chat here. And I'm sorry if I couldn't answer everything in the chat here, but I mean, we need to make this like 3 hours. I mean, this is kind of like every time I do the admin training, I'm like, talk, 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 talk. This page I just posted in the chat is, me with not all this coffee in my system. So how do I add a new client or matter? How do I change a client or matter ID? How do I change a client or matter description? How do I delete a client or matter? How do I add a doc type? How do I roll back a document? You need a doc ID to roll it back. So how do I know a document ID? How do I fix it when a doc type filter is missing? How do I add a new user to NetDocs? How do I remove a user? And how do I add a new user? Right here, this guide, if you click on it, goes through everything you need to do to add a new user, all the settings, and it's got a video of me doing it. All right. What is the difference between a repository admin and a cabinet admin? How do I make a user a repository admin? How do I increase my number of users? How do I update my billing information? I have a NetDocs tech support issue. And then this video, this is the old admin training video, which you can see here also ran over as well. And this video that we're recording will be replaced here as well. So you'll have it there, but you also get it sent to you. I'll be better about doing this. I would just point out if we come back to events here, and let's see here. This is where you see WSM. I don't have time to talk about that. WSM is where we do a training there. Where you see the training schedule. We're doing an AI assistant training. There's a DLP training. So we do all those individually. So I didn't have a lot of time to check that out. The one thing I'd point out that is kind of like this webinar is the health check we do in November to go through NetDocs and make sure everything is working correctly. I appreciate everyone's time today. I'm sure you have to run. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the admin console. So it's pretty powerful. Let me know if you have any questions. For those of you that reached out to me with specific issues, again, hope I wasn't short. Sorry about that. I just can't solve specific issues related to your thing. Send me an email, help@optimal.com, and we will get working on those for you. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much. This video is going to be on, you're going to get everyone that signs up to a webinar gets the video, whether you attend it or not. And it's on this page will be updated as well. And we have a YouTube channel now that we also, no one knows about that. If you haven't left yet, let's just come over here. Where is the Optimal YouTube channel? Where if you don't have the link to all the webinars, so we did advanced training a month ago. There it is, NetDocs Windows training. This has all of our videos. I'm going to throw this in the chat. It will show up here on the YouTube channel. You'll get an email to you, and it's going to show up on that web page. And the other thing about the YouTube channel I'll point out is we have a lot of little short 2-minute videos, like how to set up the NetDocs 365 add-in, how to set a default cabinet, your default cabinet. So we have a lot of long videos, but we've tried to intersperse that with some short, just how to fix stuff as well. So you'll get the YouTube channel is updated, will be updated tomorrow. You'll get an email, and it will update the webpage again tomorrow. All right, thanks.